I love you, but I gotta do this video. Yeah, yeah. How about you chill? I left your sleeping spot is empty today. Do you like that? Hmm. Yes. Yes. Lay down in your sleeping spot, Cream. Excellent, excellent. You're an excellent cat, but you're also an excellent distraction. Um, Hi, welcome to More Than Meets the Eye. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today we're going to be talking about Bonebreaker. I've been waiting to talk about Bonebreaker for weeks, and I'm so happy and excited to be able to bring you Bonebreaker, which is my first Build-A-Figure from Marvel Legends, and since Apocalypse, and yeah, no, Toy Biz Apocalypse. It's been that long since I've gotten a Build-A-Figure from Marvel Legends, and this was a guy to break the streak. This was it. And I have a weakness for tanks. I have a weakness for treaded vehicles. I know, and they are filled with all the dreadful puns. My weakness of dreadful vehicles is dreadfully dreadful. That's treaded. Ah, I gotta stop. I gotta stop with these dreadful jokes. Let's move away. Let's move away. So I've got the Cream. You knocked him over. I've got the GI Joe Classified Series bat here to kind of showcase the really fun aspect of this Bonebreaker, in that you can put your figures. All these 1/12 scale action figures have a little hole in their foot, and the bat, the GI Joe Classified, and the Marvel Legends, their little holes are actually about the same size, so the bat can sit on this tank very well. And in addition to that, and we'll try and keep this below 15 minutes because my New Year's resolution and all, but because of that, we've got these another really fun thing that you can do with your 1/12 scale figures and the Bonebreaker, other than having them ride the Bonebreaker, is that Bonebreaker comes with two barrels. Now these come with Havoc, and they are 1/12 scale barrels. Now they're only 25 gallon. I assume 25 gallon because of their height and their size and stuff. But these are 25 gallon. They stand just a little bit above the boot rotation point for the Cobra bat, and the Cobra bat can, of course, stick one right there on his shoulder as if he's carrying it around a maintenance bay. I'm definitely going to see if when Havocs get on sale, I'm going to try and buy a couple more just to get access to a few more of these barrels, because I'm trying to build a 1/12 scale garage slash Cobra base, mini Cobra base, and a Cobra outpost, if you will, for my 1/12 scale Cobra Classified His tank that I pre-ordered at the HasLab. And it is my hope that Bonebreaker will be able to join in that endeavor with his awesome size. I think it will be very fun to have the bay with two big vehicles, one being Bonebreaker. So I'm going to make Bonebreaker a little spot in the garage, trying to figure out how to build it with Legos right now. And I'll keep you updated on the His Tank garage as I develop more and more of it throughout this year. But it is my hope to have a garage to put the His Tank in by the time I have a His Tank in my hands. So back to this beautiful Bonebreaker. He has some excellent articulation in his head. He can move left, right, up and down. He also has more articulation in the sunglasses. They can move up and down on his face and hopefully not pop out of the little sockets. And I lose them, which I do not want to do. Okay, they're back into their little sockets. The arms are the typical arms, double jointed, that we've seen with the pinned figures from Marvel Legends. Nothing special there. The hands don't have any sort of articulation other than the fact they can rotate. He also has two bracelets that are free floating on each of his arms. When moving when changing out the hands, be aware that those are free floating and can fly off if you're not careful. He also has a free floating necklace choke guard thing that if you try and switch out his head will pop off. The morph head does fit on the Bonebreaker, so if you want to put Morph as pretending to be Bonebreaker, go ahead. Nobody will stop you. I think it's kind of funny. Also, the Mystique head may fit on there as well, but I haven't tried. I don't have a Mystique. The articulation-wise for his body, he has a ratcheted rotation for the hips, which then become tank. So, and then he's got an ab crunch. Now sculpt. Oh wait, one more piece of articulation. The gun barrel for the mortar on the front of his tank can move up 45 degrees and down to a normal position, and back to 180, just laying flat. Now, that is it for sculpting on him. And let's get into talking about not sculpting, articulation. Let's get into the sculpt. So we'll start at the top and we'll work our way all the way down to the bottom of the tank because the underside of the tank's got some really fun stuff in it. Now he's got this really fun mohawk. It's got all this. It's like he spent a lot of time getting all these individual spikes in the mohawk, and then of course going out in the wilderness and going through brushes and stuff like that. It feels windswept. It feels like it may have had a stick stuck in it at some point that he yanked out. It feels like, this is the mohawk of a soldier, not a mohawk of some prissy boy. And I appreciate that. This guy's obvious. He's always in war zones. He's always running around in rubble, across fields, through wilderness. So his hair's going to show that. And I do like the fact that it's a weathered mohawk. And they managed to get it spot on. Good job, guy. Good job to the sculpting crew for this. The modeling crew for the Bonebreaker. That was. I can't imagine that was an easy task to do to actually get a windswept mohawk. Now coming down here to his face. I love that his face. It's an interesting expression on his face. The first time I've witnessed this expression, and it's this just large open mouth, like he's screaming "Get some!" before firing a bunch of weapons. That's just kind of what I feel like. The little Ray Bans he's wearing are really fun. They are some new sunglasses, and they are quite nice. Though I don't think they'll work on anyone else because they have these pegs to allow them to hold on to his little peg holes that he has on the sides of his ears. But he's got some nice eyes in there, some very very decent eyebrows, and we can fold that back down, and the glasses just kind of snap into position, and that is excellent. He's got a good nose on his face, and we'll get down here to the rest of his body. His body sculpt isn't much anything special. There's nothing that really stands out from a normal like male Marvel Legends figure. Muscle tone, but not overly muscled, and it feels like maybe there's some body armor on his chest, and then on we've got the abs that are individually sculpted in there as well. Got to have the abs on all the superhero people. A superhero person without abs, crazy. Uh, there is some looseness and some wear on all of my guy's kind of joints. His rotations on his arms are loose. His joints are a little loose. They're pinned. It's whatever mold they used for the Bonebreaker is obviously on its way out, and that definitely hurt it. They could have used, we could have just gotten the top of the Vulcan body and turned that into Bonebreaker's body, but whatever. Now we come down here, we get the straps. The straps are really fun because the way they set them up, they're a little longer than they should be, and that allows for when you do a forward bend in the abs, the back strap. Just lay over there, Bat. The back strap comes down and covers everything very well. It feels like it actually moves or stretches with his movements. They put just enough extra strap in here to give that impression, but not so much so that it bunches up all the time. It's the perfect amount of strap on each, on every one of these little straps. And when you rotate him around, they of course follow him around, and they're the straps that hold his upper body onto his lower body to make sure he doesn't accidentally break his back by falling halfway over, because there's nothing solid up here to hold him in place. Now, heading down here to the rest of the top of the tank, we've got the front of it's pretty angled. He's got this a nice little slope of different varying armor covers, and it's very clean, very nice. He's got some headlights there on either side. There's two on each side, and they are bulbous and kind of big. I imagine they are very, very, very bright headlights. And then on either side of him, on one side, we've got this long tube thing, which is actually a rammer, and that's one of the negatives I have on this figure, is that this isn't removable and attachable anywhere. I think you're doing a Build-A-Figure, you could have included this as an accessory that could be attached. It would have been fun to have that extra addition to this figure. Instead, it's static and it's actually molded into place with everything else. He's got this nice diamond-shaped corrugated steel. This stuff is the stuff you would find on the tool chests in the back of some pickup trucks around America. They are very nice to stand on. You don't really slip whenever it's wet. It's very fun. Very nice detail. I'm very happy they included that attention to detail. He's got people that work on his engines, and he doesn't want them to slip off and hurt themselves. After all, he needs them to repair his accessibility device. So he's got to make sure they're safe too. Now the engine here is this massive. It's this huge honking engine that reminds me out of something out of a dragster. Yeah, it sticks up out of the top with these big air intakes that are right behind his back, and this thing eats his farts, and it also, I imagine, gets very hot during battles. This thing would probably just be glowing with the amount of heat coming off of it, and of course he would just be right there at it, drinking plenty of water, I hope, and sweating buckets. And I just imagine you get the growl of this engine going with the occasional hiss as a droplet of his sweat hits some part of the engine, and that's what I imagine going on there. The back of this is where the barrels are attached, and the barrels are attached in such a way they actually use the same type of peg that the action figures can use to fit into the bottom of their feet. So if you remove the barrels, you've got more spots for action figures to stand on this vehicle. That's really fun. Now, the sides of this vehicle are very well sculpted. You've got these three big pieces of reactionary armor that are bolted onto the sides of this vehicle, and they are scratched. They are messed up. It feels like they've each, the sides of this tank have seen damage, and that he's probably had a piece of rebar scrape across the side, or chunks of concrete scrape as he's gone through the rubble of a building. Maybe limbs scraping the side of the paint job as he's going through a forest. You got all sorts of just wear and tear going on this, and that sculpt work is excellent. They've really paid attention to that. And now we're getting down here to the wheels. And the wheels are now that's the same sculpt work for each side, by the way. I felt it; it's just about the same. The wheels here have the big gear wheel in the back of the tank tread that moves the tank tread itself, and then you've got the individual wheels that run around to allow the tank tread to move freely and support the weight of the tank. And the tread itself is very well detailed and sculpted. The individual wheels in here are really nice. I like that each of them have a little point in the center of it. It's a fun texture. It's fun textures going on here. Fun sculpt work. And finally, I think this is the most interesting part of it, because they didn't have to do this. Okay, they sculpted the underside. Now the underside of this has got some really nice sculpt work going on. Stuff that I don't think anyone's really talked about much, but I found it by accident. There is this, got these divots in here. It's obvious, like he's run over a rock that's come up and punched into the metal and scraped it up a bit. Maybe he's run over Wolverine, and Wolverine's tried to dig in through the bottom. There's scratches all over the place. There's deep rivets and tears in the metal. It's nice. This is a worn tank. This thing has been used. It's been used a lot, and they sculpted that. They sculpted it into the bottom. The Marvel Legends team sculpted something into the bottom of something. I'm very proud of you, Marvel Legends team. Good job. You took a note from the G.I. Joe Classified team, and I am very happy about that, because that's an attention to detail I was not expecting. And then back here, there's this rectangle or square of plastic with 4 bolts in it, and that's the trap door that allows the maintenance employees to actually get into the inside workings, the guts of this tank from the underside, and repair something or add fluid, check the fluids or something like that. They didn't have to include that trap door in the bottom of this tank, but they did. And that just floored me. And that's why he rated so high in my list. And the only reason he rated so low is just because, one, these treads don't move. They could have been, with as detailed as everything is here, you could have made these moving treads without much problem. And this rammer thing doesn't come off the side, and that is it. That is it. This is wow. Everything about this surprised me. It is an excellent figure, and I do recommend picking it up. Most of that Build-A-Figure line was great, except for Siren. Siren was the worst figure out of it. And you don't even need to pick up the Wolverine if you have too many Wolverines, because he doesn't even come with a piece. So just get everything else. Maggot was a great figure as well. And the Sabretooth, it was really good to have a Sabretooth in my collection. But I think I've taken up enough of your time for today. Please tune into my channel tomorrow. We'll be talking about Victory Saber and discussing how to change Victory Leo into Victory, and Star Saber into Victory Saber. With their powers combined, they create the ultimate in swordsmanship. Thank you for watching, and please tune in next time. Bye-bye for now.